And we are live. So,
Oh.
not live, recording. We're not live. Hello, Jen Glantz. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is making my entire afternoon.
So, I was just saying to Jen prior to pressing record that I followed you on social media for a little while now. So, there's something wonderfully creepy to say, like, oh my God, I see you every morning. Like, I follow you and I'm talking to you. I'm like, that in any other context of the word would be the most creepy, weird thing that people like, don't get away from me. Like, it's so accepted in our world, and it just so wouldn't be not that long ago. So anyway, thank you so much for coming and for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Of course, I'm so excited to be here. And it's totally not creepy. I mean, I think about even like the ex-boyfriends I still look at every morning on Instagram, and that's like a little creepy, you know?
And even them, it's like, it's
Whatever.
like you're welcome to keep looking at a fabulous man. Anywho, so I'm gonna get right into this because Jen Glantz, and I'm gonna say her full name because that's not weird at all. Jen Glantz, such a fun name to say. But I said I followed you for a long time, and it was part of when I was sort of doing my friendship, female sexuality and friendship, couple series ago, and your name came up in a couple of podcasts that I was looking at and researching, and Friendship Forward with Danielle Jackson. Mm-hmm. And sort of that's how that kind of all came up. And then I'm like, oh, like she seems like so fun. And I looked onto your website and then started following you on social media. And I was like, holy cow, like the word side hustle, you give a whole new definition to what side hustle would feel like or even be defined as. It's incredible. So from your podcast, You're Not Getting Any Younger, which just celebrated its 200th episode. So congratulations. That is amazing. And by the way, that cake looked delicious. Anyway, see, weird, but not.
No, it's not weird.
Two books.
Yes.
2 books, a coach and Juice with Jen.
Yep.
Fabulous. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I wrote it down. There's like half a page.
No, there's a lot. Don't even try to remember it all. Like, I don't even remember it all.
You are a course creator. I have looked at many of your courses, and because I have sworn off education for a couple of years because I just finished my master's and a couple of other courses, and my husband's like, honestly, break. And I'm like, yeah, no, for sure, break. And now like I'm getting the itch again, and he's like,
oh no,
just relax. I'm like, I know, but but I found a couple of courses that Jen was doing, and he's like, just take a breath. I'm like, oh, okay. So course creator, like it's just it is amazing. It is an amazing thing to how many things you have accomplished. And so getting to know you, I'm like, she is incredible. I'm like, I want to chat with Jen Glantz. Like I really, really wanted to. So with this series, breaking boundaries and following your intuition, I'm like, it's just going to line up perfect. But for those people that may not know, can you give us some context in terms of how this all started? And I'm hinting toward the ad on Craigslist in terms of how things happened for you and the momentum that picked up from there.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So I will start with the fun fact that I majored in poetry in college, and I graduated college and was like, what am I supposed to do now? Nobody helped me with that answer. But I just worked a series of very odd jobs that eventually led me to New York City, where I started a blog that nobody read, where I just wrote about my mistakes and my awkward moments and dating. And I found myself in the dating space, and I wrote my first book in 2013 called All My Friends Are Engaged. Right. And then after that, I started to become a bridesmaid for all of my friends, and I would fly back to Florida and be that bridesmaid, which led me to realize that this should be a job. Being a bridesmaid is really hard. Right. So I posted an ad on Craigslist offering my services as a bridesmaid for hire, and the ad got hundreds of responses. And in 2014, I know it was crazy because I was like, this is sort of a joke, but sort of not. And in 2014, I started the business Bridesmaid for Hire. And for the past 7 years, strangers have been hiring me to be their bridesmaid.
Oh my God.
That entered me into being an entrepreneur. And from there, I wrote another book. I started a podcast. Every year, I try to start something new. So I'm always putting things out there, but I've been sharing my life since 2010 on the internet and connecting with people I don't know. I say this all the time, and I really genuinely mean this. Like, most of my closest friends are people I've met on the internet, and some of them I have met in real life, and some of them I haven't. And I don't think that that's weird, like I really do think that we can connect with people in so many different ways. And online has been my way for a very long time.
That I'm trying to envision too, because when I got married, like it really was such a stressful process that I'm like, that is just something I would have never thought of. And I think that's incredible. I can't even get over that. And like, you show up at this wedding and you are probably that person that is the calmest, that is the most level-headed, that is probably like, that is just, I think, such an incredible thing. Anyway,
I thrive in chaos. Like if you put me in a chaotic situation, I'm so calm. But if you put me in a calm situation, I bring the chaos. So that's why I work so well at weddings.
Story of my life.
Yeah. That's why we get along, because you're either that way or you're not that way.
Yes. Okay. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So then, okay, my next question is, what is your motive? What is your motivator? It could be many things. So what inspires you? What motivates you? Because it is such an incredible thing to see someone who is passionate, who is driven, who is successful. But I also recognize and am very aware of how hard it can be sometimes to be self-driven. And there sometimes isn't that person waking you up in the morning and say, this is what you got to do today. It's like, no, like you are that person for yourself. And that can be so hard sometimes. So what is a motivator for you? What strategies have you put in place, or like non-negotiables? I have to do this to keep me fueled, to keep me going.
I think there's two things that both work well for me, but also are probably unhealthy. And number one is the fact that I literally am so aware of the fact that life is going to be over at some point, and I can't necessarily choose when that is. And the stress of knowing that like I will not be here forever, yet there is so much I want to do. I have felt that since I was 2 years old. So I feel the stress every day of my life of we can't waste time. We can't think too much. We have to do. And by the way, this also works against me. My husband hates this because at 7:00 on a Sunday, I'm like, get out of bed. We got to go. Like I can't relax. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, growing up, I was very shy. I was bullied a lot. I was always like the oddball out, and people criticized me for that. And I faced a lot of rejection very early on in my life that built me to be this kind of person that isn't out to prove anybody wrong about me. I'm out to prove myself right. So I wake up every morning and I think about all the people who probably want me to fail, and even the part of myself that feels like I'm going to fail, and I'm working to counteract that. So I think a combination of those two things fuels me every single day to run at this like really fast speed.
Yeah. Wow. And I just thought of that TikTok video. May your success annoy the shit out of everyone who wants to see you fail. I just thought of that. I'm like, oh, such a good video.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially when you have a business like Bridesmaid for Hire, the amount of people who called me crazy back then, even the amount of people who email me now and say horrible things, it doesn't bother me, but it just allows me to tap even more into my why. And my why, I think, carries me through everything.
That is such an amazing segue into my next question, because my next question is, what does intuition look like, feel like for you? And I preface this with a little tiny backstory. So in this series, when I was trying to put this series together, it was triggered by someone a little while ago asking me a question. If you had one day all to yourself, what would that day look like? Where would you go? Anywhere in the world, it could be the best, craziest day. What would it look like? And I'd be like, okay. And I sat there and I could not answer that question.
Yeah.
And I sat there longer and longer. And then I started panicking. I'm like, holy crap, I swear to goodness, I don't know. And that triggered some self-reflection. And I realized that I'm so lost in the hustle and bustle of job, kids, family, all the things that we feel.
Yeah.
I'm so lost within it that I felt and recognized that I was so disconnected from what fuels me, what drives me. I mean, I'm happy, yes, but like, am I actually living with parts of myself, am I aligned in all areas of my life that is authentic to who I am? And I don't know. And I feel like I've silenced, I know the voice is there. I feel like I've silenced it for so long because we lean on what's more stable, secure. We think of longevity of things versus what's more risky, but what's going to sort of spark me in that sense.
Yeah.
So my hope to do this series was connecting with people that have created lifestyles, careers, opportunity for themselves based on their trust in their gut. And hopefully when people listen or hear this, they will start to recognize patterns and similarities and hopefully reconnect with their own voice. So what does intuition look like, feel like for you when you see something, want to go for something, you're like, yep, that's it. I'm going to do it. I don't care what anybody said. Like, I'm going to do it.
I think it's my personality trait. I am the most stubborn person you will ever meet. I'm an Aries by nature. It defines every single part of me. I've always been super stubborn. So I really rely on my intuition, which to me, I trust myself more than I trust anybody else, which is why I don't listen to people's advice, which is why when someone tells me something's not going to work, it gives me more reason to know it's going to work.
Right.
It also makes me, even though I am extremely public, I'm also so private. So when I build something, I build it in here. I don't tell anyone. My own husband will have no clue what I have done until it's live. I trust myself so much. And that is something I'm really proud of, is this relationship I've built with myself, because when I spend a lot of time in my head. And when I think about doing something, I act fast. Every project, every business, every side hustle I have released has been almost immediate. I don't sit there and plan out for 3 months. I don't sit there and do research. I just do. And I think that's because I trust myself and I trust what I believe not only I think is a good idea, but what I am so passionate about. And on the other hand, there's been ideas I've had where I'm like, this is fun, but a part of me is like, I'm not really into it. So I'm not going to pursue that. So I think it's about knowing yourself. And I feel lucky that my personality trait is being stubborn, because when you are stubborn, you learn to really connect with yourself.
Yeah.
But you also have to learn that there's going to be times when you let your own self down or when you fail, and you have to be nice to yourself. And I've worked on that a lot, which is forgiveness of my own self and losing the part of judgment of my own self too.
Which is, I think we are harder on nobody. Sorry. We are not as hard on anybody as we are ourselves. And again, I can't remember what interview I was listening to, but someone said it best when they said, if I spoke to someone as critically as I spoke to myself, like if I would speak to someone or heard someone talking the way that I talk to myself, I would think that person is just horrible, out to lunch, like, oh my God. But we give ourselves full permission to be that critical of ourselves. So absolutely.
I mean, I think the people who know me though will tell you that I am extremely hard on myself to a point that it's not good. You know, my therapist will say that, but my best friend Molly, every time I call her, she's like, you are so hard on yourself that it's disgusting. Like, the standards you set for yourself are crazy. And it's true. I am my toughest boss. And I think I have to be like that. And it works for me. You know, I am sometimes really mean to myself, but it's more tough than mean. But it's also about, you know, realizing that and understanding that. So I would definitely say that I am somebody who is so hard on myself to the point where the people around me are like, whoa, you know, like, how do you not see this? But it goes into just who I am by nature. I am a very intense and emotional person by nature, and I don't want to change. I don't want to.
That's just, I'm saying because I'm processing. I'm saying I know. I recognize everyone that I'm saying because
you get it though. You're like, I get it.
I get it all. Like I am incredibly critical of myself, and I understand that. And sometimes not. Like, I need to really watch and be mindful of, like, oh, we're getting into a little path here. It's been a couple of days. You need to readjust here. But for so long in my life, I've had to sort of get quieter and get smaller, because I can be so out there and so intense, and I love hard, and I get angry hard. And I, for so many years of my life, it's been like, Steph, like, calm down. And until eventually I had kids, and I see myself half reflected with my husband. But like, I think, be a weirdo.
Yeah.
Like, I look at my kid and I'm like, I'll never say that to you. Go be a weirdo,
Yep.
like be
Yep.
crazy, be
Yep.
intense, be exactly who you are. And in teaching and saying that to my kids, I'm recognizing that I'm teaching myself or giving myself that same permission because I want it for my kid. Therefore, I have to model and mirror that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. And when you said it, I'm like, yes, like absolutely.
No, I mean, even when I was dating, like when I finally met my husband, it came to the point where when I was dating, I would hold back so much because I can be a lot. When I finally met him, I was like, I don't care anymore. I'm going to show him exactly who I am from day one on. And I was proud of that because he got to see me being intense and emotional and all of the things that I love about myself that some people are never going to love about me. But I'm not going to change those things because those things are who I am. And if I did change those things, if I brought my intensity down, I would not be happy. And parts of life are selfish. Parts of life are about us. And the happiest version of me is when I am screaming because I'm happy. I'm a loud talker. I get noise complaints because I'm just talking, and but that's who I am. I'm not a quiet whisperer, slow person. I am a storm that will roll through your home.
Yep. I will say one story before I get to my next question. When I was a kid, broken telephone.
Yeah.
So I remember being young. Grade 1. I don't know. I'm making up a year because I was very young, and we were in the city at the time, and nobody would play broken telephone with me. And it's because I couldn't whisper. Like I was the kid, and I'm trying. Like I would go to the next person, and I am trying to whisper, but like they heard me 2 people down, and I remember being like, Stephanie, shh. And I'm like, I'm trying. Like, I talk loud. And then it gets to a point of my life where I'm just going to embrace it.
I know.
Because this is who I am. I'm just I'm tired of being apologetic. It's like, no, you talk louder.
Yeah.
You talk louder.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm the same way, and I love it about myself. And it makes me who I am.
Absolutely. So, okay, let's just go back very quickly to job titles.
Yeah.
So, whether a podcaster, which I have to say this in terms of your podcast because I love them, and I love them for so many reasons, but couple of reasons why I love them is because they're digestible, they're palatable, they are useful. Like I walk away usually, aside from the fact that they're energetic and fun, but I most of the time will walk away with like things I didn't know, ideas I didn't have. Like there was one, oh my gosh, there's many, but there was one I listened to about odd jobs, like how to pick up odd jobs. I walked away with and was kept rewinding parts with like lists of like websites and like things to do and things. I'm like, oh my God, I'm totally going to check that out. Like it was like so digestible and useful. I was like, holy God, this is awesome. So anyways, just wanted you to know that. But in terms of the podcast, in terms of coaching, consulting, all that stuff, you are in the business of helping people. You are in the business of empowering people. And you do so in such a confident, approachable, and all the while vulnerable way. And it's like when I'm following you or I'm on social media and I'm going through pictures, or I would say go through courses of yours or your website, it genuinely feels like I know you on some level because, and I think you had just mentioned before, you've opened yourself up in such a fearless way. And my question is, what advice would you give someone who wants to start a business, a website, a blog in a digital world? Because in so many ways we are told, or we hesitate because we should be very reserved or cautious about entering the online plane or the digital plane. So you do it in such a beautifully fearless way. I'm just wondering if you could offer advice to anyone at the more beginning stages of entering the online platform and creating a space for themselves within it.
I think you have to do what you're comfortable with. I think a lot of people who know me now, I've been doing this since 2010. And in 2010, I committed to writing about the messy parts of my life. And I've done that. And since then, I committed to writing about dating. And now I write about my own marriage. And I commit to showing so much. But I do think behind the scenes, what's very interesting is there's at least 25% of my life that I never show, that people do not know about me, that they would be shocked maybe if they did know. Like, you have to know what you want to keep secret. And then you have to know what you want to put out there. And what you put out there, the only way for it to work and to feel right is for it to be authentic. And what does authentic mean? Well, it shouldn't mean that you're trying to do anything or be anyone but yourself.
Right.
When I sit down and put things out there, it's really who I am. It's really how I feel. It's really the words that I would speak to you if we were getting coffee down the street. And there's no way of perfecting that or understanding that or knowing that. It's just doing that. And it's sort of like what you said about podcasting. The first couple of episodes you tried, you were like, this is not me. And then you're like, oh, wait, this is me. When you finally hit that mark, you just know.
Yeah.
I will say, if you're just beginning, have boundaries. You don't need to expose every part of your life. Another thing that I often do is have things on a delay. So I won't write about things as I'm feeling them. So if I'm going through a really, really tough time, or I'm going through like a depressing type of moment, I won't share it in the moment because I want to process it.
Right.
And I think that's helpful because then you really come to the table not only showcasing parts of your life, but showcasing what you did in that part of your life. And maybe it worked or it didn't work. So I think having things on a delay is super important. And I think also if at any point it becomes uncomfortable, pull away. You know, the past couple of years, for the first time ever, I've taken breaks of not posting on social media for a month to just sort of like deal with myself and handle me and what's going on.
And honor them.
And I think you need to know that and understand that. Also, like, I am very comfortable being like, here's most of my deepest, darkest secrets. And some people aren't, and you shouldn't do that if you're not.
Right. Absolutely. And I think the most, and again, I'm very fresh in this, but I think the one thing is boundaries.
Yeah.
Just know what they are and kind of feel around in the beginning. And if you're not comfortable, that's okay. And just because Timmy's podcast or Timmy's blog or Janet's website, whatever it is, if they're comfortable with that, that's cool. And I said this in the very beginning prior to actually initiating the podcast was that I wanted to figure out sort of the world of podcasting. And then I put a few things out there and realized it wasn't me. And I think I was trying so hard to do what everybody else was doing where I'm like, I started over. I'm like, I can't, this isn't it. And it's like, whatever my authentic voice was, I have to honor exactly that. And when I stopped doing the comparative lens. I'm like, I have to just not. I just have to not for a while, disconnect for a while, figure this out, and then go.
And that's the other thing is like, I think if you're going to get into any of this, don't have anybody that you're trying to be like. Don't look at anybody else. Like when I do things, I don't look at people's websites. I don't look at their emails. I don't follow many people on social media intentionally because I don't want to consume. I want to just do. And the more you look and you're like, oh, I want to be like that, the more you take away from yourself and you're not yourself. The world doesn't need more copycat podcasts or copycat bloggers or people on social media. The world needs more genuine you. So I think a lot of people make that mistake is they're like, okay, these are the 5 people I love. I want to be like that. No, you really don't, by the way. You want to be you. And I think that that's the case. So I would say also like stop following a lot of people for a while until you nail yourself and what you want to bring to the table.
So, that's just, that's said perfectly. So my next question, just out of pure curiosity, is because there might be, I'm sure some, if you're willing to share new projects, ideas, anything upcoming or that we're looking at focusing on in the future.
Oh my God, I'm so excited because I just released a card game called the Newlywed Card Game. And my goal at the beginning of this year, it's so weird how the world works, but one of my goals was that I wanted to create a physical product because I've created online things, I've created books before, but I wanted to sell a product. I'm obsessed with like managing inventory. I don't know why. So I wanted to create a card game because I think they're fun and you can bring them anywhere. So I ended up randomly getting married this year on the sidewalk. We just eloped. No big deal. And then the first year of marriage has been bizarre. So I created this card game called the Newlywed Card Game. It just came out and that's one of the projects that I'm so excited about. My whole room is like stacked with card games. I bought like a label printer, but this is a whole new world I'm learning and I'm obsessed. I also started 2 new newsletters. They're both free. One of them is oddjobsnews.com. And it's every week, it's a recap of weird jobs and how to start them. And then the other newsletter is called the firstyearsofmarriage.com, which talks about, like, I'm sure you know, some of the things that happen in the first year of marriage that nobody tells you about. So those are sort of my 2 projects. I have been a creator since 2010, and I've always said I want to create what I'm going through, what I'm experiencing in my life. And at first it was moving to New York and dating, and then it was being a bridesmaid. And now I'm at the point where I'm married and I'm like, No one told me any of this stuff. And so that's what I'm currently really diving into and writing about and exposing in hopes that other people realize they're not alone during those first few years.
Yes, and amen to all things that you just said, because there's no warning label, and we love them, obviously.
Yeah.
But again, some warning would have been appreciated, or like heads up. This is what it's gonna feel like. This is what you guys are gonna figure out and deal with. You're normal. It's cool. But
and then imagine getting married in a pandemic too, where it's like, you know, I think the past 2 years have been hard for everyone. And we live in like a 500 square foot apartment in Brooklyn, which is like really small. It's very, very small. So it's been tough. It's definitely been tough. And then when you get married, all these like things change in your head because you start to take it more seriously. I've threatened divorce like 10 times this year, you know? So I want to be honest and open about this. And the best part about my husband is he really doesn't care what I put out there. Like, he doesn't really care how much I share. He doesn't care if I give personal details. So I really respect and appreciate him for that. And
Absolutely.
I'm very thankful for him.
Absolutely. Can you please tell, and I will include everything in the show notes anyway, but can you please share how people can get in touch with you, contact you, etc., or your business as well?
Yes. You can find me, jenglantz.com, on social media at jenglantz. You can find the Newlywed Card Game at thenewlywedcardgame.com, oddjobsnews.com, thefirstyearsofmarriage.com, and You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast.
Boom. Like, it's just, oh my God. I adore you. Like, it's just been incredible. I thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it. It was such a pleasure having you.
Oh, thank you so much. This is so much fun.
All right. I'm going to stop the recording.
Yay,
But see you right here. Thank
This
you.
was so much fun. I loved your questions. They're so unique and different and just so targeted toward a certain topic that I think is so important.
I'm leaving this in. I hope everybody, I'm going to leave this in.
Oops.
All right. Just give 1 second.